Greetings. Welcome to Avon Valley Church's Youth, Children and Families Sunday Bible Bedtime Story. My name is Jan and this is my lovely little rescue dog called Susie. Some of you have met her before. I say lovely, but she can also be very naughty and she has a mind of her own. She might not stay with us, but I think she's pleased to see you, aren't you, Susie? Now, tonight's story is called Joshua and Jericho. I have been to Jericho. It's an ancient city and is sited on important crossroads. And I remember two things particularly about it. One, that we went into a lovely shop and bought these things for communion. And if you look carefully, you can see it's loaves and small fishes. And we love it. And it's used sometimes. Jeremy uses it sometimes in High Church. There you are. You can see the two fishes very well on there. And that was bought in Jericho. The next thing I remember about Jericho is that we took a cable car from the town up the mountain. And the mountain is called Temptation because that was where Jesus was tempted by the devil. And we took this cable car up, and then there was a path and a little cafe. So we stopped and we had a drink. Then we went back. No driver to the cable car. We sat and we sat. And then suddenly someone said, "Oh, but it was midday. He will have gone for his prayers." So we had to wait for about 3/4 of an hour for the driver to come back, and then we were allowed to descend. That's my main remembrance of Jericho. Right, to the west of Jericho, the road runs up through the mountains to Jerusalem. And to the north, a road goes along the Jordan River Valley to Galilee. And to the south, the road goes to the Dead Sea and into Egypt. In Bible times, Joshua was a great leader of the people of Israel. Also, we have a grandson called Joshua, and he's a very splendid fellow. He brought them back to the promised land. Then, city by city, he claimed it for his people because God had promised it to them. So here is our story from the Bible. Once the people of Israel had crossed the river Jordan, Joshua led them to the very ancient city of Jericho. It's a nice name, isn't it, Jericho? People have already lived there for thousands of years, and Jericho at this time had local Canaanite people living in it. But Joshua knew that this was the land where his people used to live in the days of Abraham. It was their promised land. God had given this land to Abraham and his family forever. Now Joshua had come with his people to claim back their land. Joshua decided that first of all, he must capture Jericho and give it back to his people. As a start, he set his warriors all the way around the city. They wouldn't let anyone go in or out. They set up their camp and they waited. Then one day Joshua met a man who was holding a sword straight up in front of him. "Are you for us or against us?" Joshua asked. The man replied, "I am here as God's messenger." "Oh, splendid," said Joshua. "What does God say that we should do now?" And the angel that looked like a man told Joshua the plan. So Joshua gave the orders and the plan began. So every day for 6 days, the Israelite warriors marched around the city once every day. They had with them 7 priests, and each priest carried a great ram's horn trumpet. And following these men were the bearers who carried the great stone slabs on which Moses had written the 10 Commandments. These stories were carried in a great carved box, which was called the Ark of the covenant. The people in Jericho looked out every day and were quite bewildered by this strange possession. Day and night they worried and wondered what would happen next. And after 6 days, they'd slept so little and fretted so much, they were all quite exhausted. Then, on the 7th day, the procession went round the city, and round the city, and round the city. 7 times they went round. Then they stopped. The 7 priests blew their horns with a mighty blast that echoed round the hills, and all the Israelites let out an ear-splitting shout. Oh, wow, what a noise! Then amazingly from the wall came little puffs of dust. You could hardly believe your eyes. The wall began to shake, then it began to sway and to rock, and then bang! The wall fell over. For a moment, everyone stood wide-eyed in amazement. Then Joshua's warriors climbed over the fallen wall and they captured the city of Jericho. There were many towns and cities in Canaan, and each one had to be captured. It's going to be a long job. Joshua next chose the nearby city of Ai. It was not very big, so Joshua just sent a troop of warriors off to conquer it. But they soon came back looking very sorry for themselves. That town has great big strong walls. Their fighters are very fierce and so aggressive, they said. So Joshua talked to God, and together they made a very cunning plan. He sent up a great force of warriors, and they camped just in front of that city. The warriors of Ai kept watch on these troops in the camp all day and all night. But secretly, in the dark, Joshua sent another troop of warriors to hide in the hills just behind the city. And next day, the battle began. The troops in front made an attack. But they very soon seemed to lose heart, and they started to run away. Delighted, the soldiers of the city thought they were cowards and they rushed out to chase them. But no sooner had they gone, leaving the gates open, than Joshua's troops in hiding rushed into the city and quickly captured it. Joshua's soldiers, who seemed to be running away, suddenly stopped. They turned round and shouted at their enemy, "Look behind you!" The troops in the city stopped and looked behind them and saw that the gates were now shut. The city was captured and they were shut out and about to be in the jam in the sandwich with their enemy in front and behind them. They threw down their swords and they surrendered. Joshua had captured his second city. God's plans are always the best, said Joshua. The end. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Susie. I'm glad she stayed with us. Good girl. God be with you. Goodbye.